Welcome to the Wake Up Dad Show, a Daddiest production. This podcast is for you, Dad. This is where we talk about all things related to dadhood, from parenting to relationships to financial and physical health. Your hosts, Dr. Scott and Dr. Evan, are two dads who are committed to helping you. Join our Facebook community by searching Daddiest, where conscious dads connect and collaborate. Welcome to the Wake Up Dad Show. This is Dr. Ev.
And Scotty boy.
Right on. So this is a Daddiest production, Dadhood Made Easier. Find us on Facebook. Tonight we're going to be talking about a book called The Way of the Superior Man. I recommend every dad gets this book and reads it multiple times. Would you agree, Scott?
Yes. To be perfectly honest, first time I read it, or actually I've got it on audiobook. Ev's got the hard copy. I've got the audiobook. He actually sent through a few pages for me to read, and it's actually a little bit different. So I might get the hard copy, but I'll tell you, listening to the audiobook, about 3/4 of the way through, I was like, man, this guy has no fucking idea what he's talking about. And I turned it off, and I didn't listen to it for a year until it was brought up again. But it has been recommended to me by a few people. So 2 things. One is stick with it. It isn't an easy read, like every single sentence can change your life type of thing. So it's not like the kind of thing you're going to want to read just before going to bed, like, oh, I'm getting kind of sleepy, I want to read something. No, don't do that.
No, not sleepy.
And the second one is absolutely, now I'm listening to it the second time, and it's like a world of difference. So totally would, like, a good mate of mine, Anthony Gollet, actually, a shout out to Anthony. He's the first one who told me about this. And he was, I think, the very first person I interviewed on Wake Up Dad Show. He probably mentioned it in that interview, actually, now that I think about it. And he said he reads it every year. And now I get totally why, because it's my second time through and it's significantly better. Yes, I would totally agree with that. And before we even get into that, hey, let's say hello and welcome back to everybody. It's been about 18 months since we released the last podcast. I thought it was 18 days, but
yeah,
the 18 months. 18 months since we released our last podcast episode. So we've been super busy with this project that we call Daddiest, which we will talk about as we go. That's not what today's episode is about, but keep on track with that. Daddiest.com. Check it out when it's available. That website's not even up yet. This is so new and exciting stuff. So check it out. But let's get into today's podcast. Go for it.
Tonight we're going to be covering a few topics. One is why men think most women are crazy. Second is why she loves you 1 minute and then hates you the next. What is it she actually cares about? And why most relationships break up. This is such important content, hey?
As time goes on, we're just going to keep coming back to this because, it is the essence. Like, we've done Wake Up Dad for a while now. I think we've released about 50, 60 episodes. And even though we haven't released another episode in the last 18 months, doesn't mean we haven't been basically working our asses off for dads. It's just been more behind the scenes stuff. So we're ready to get back on track, get this message out into what we call the P6 of dadhood. So we've got a lot of stuff happening, and passion is the big one that keeps coming up for us. Hey, Ev, it's one of the most important ones, and the ones where we are the most lost.
That's and the thing is, and man, when we get lost in relationship, it's bad news, and it can turn quick if we don't know how to deal with what we're going to talk about tonight. If we don't know how to perceive what's going on in a relationship the right way, we can go downhill so fast. I see pictures of guys on Facebook and stuff, and selfies. They're all happy with their girl, and she's writing about he's the best man, and like, oh, happy birthday, and then 2 months later, divorced. it's
Yeah.
it's like, whoa, what happened there, buddy? Yeah, and it's pretty incredible how I'll just speak for myself. Like, I'm completely clueless I was about this content that we're going to talk about tonight. And yeah, so this is, as far as the importance factor, I'm going to put it at a 11 out of 10 here. So let's go into the first one. So why men think most women are crazy. So it really comes
to that is obviously because it's true, right? That's got to be the
That's
answer.
it.
That's
Well, it is.
Well,
It
that's what we
kind of
thought anyway, right?
yeah, that's what we thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because the majority of men are masculine. So and ideally we're attracting our complementary opposite. So the woman is more feminine. So if you have a highly masculine man and you've got a highly feminine woman, that's a good thing. There's a lot of polarity there. The opposites attract. We've heard that before. The thing is yep, go ahead.
I was going to say, so a point to make here is because when we talk about masculine, we talk about feminine. These are traits. They're personality traits. They're not that men are masculine and females are feminine. That's not the way that this works. We all have masculine and feminine in us, and there are men who are more masculine, which is the most common occurrence. There are females who are more feminine, which is the most common occurrence. But there are men who are not gay who are very feminine, and women who are not gay who are very masculine. So it's not a man-woman thing. It's not a straight gay thing. It's just personality traits and how you see the world and how you go through life. So that, I think that's an important point to make first of all. But like Ev was saying, the book says, I think it's 80% typically of men have the more masculine and women the more feminine. And that opposite, like you said, the opposites will attract. So that's really important to make. But you could have a man with a lot of feminine and a female with a lot of masculine, and that still creates the same type of polarity and can work really well.
Exactly. Then you can also get more neutral, and both partners are actually more neutral, which is kind of interesting because they're not really opposites, but it does exist. 10% of relationships, both partners are neutral. There's not a lot of polarity there. There's not a lot of excitement and yelling and screaming and passionate sex either. It's pretty neutral. They're like best friends. They can talk about everything, that kind of thing.
That's exactly right. And that's the big difference is the neutral. I mean, in some ways you're like, whoa, that sounds pretty good. Like you don't have those big swings, big highs, big lows. Like what we're talking about with this question is your woman's crazy kind of situation. But the negative side, which I'm expecting this will be a negative side for most dads out there, is this sex life is right because there's none of the polarity, and that's what creates that sexual energy.
Yeah.
And I think we all know what we're talking about there. That's just energy that can build. Whereas you got that neutral, and I think that happens probably for a lot of new dads, right? Sex goes out the window, things become more neutral. And it sort of has that flow-on effect. It's just that can create a lot of issues long-term. I think we probably all know that we've had some of that at some point in our relationships where things have become more neutralized and become more problems, which we're going to talk about, I think, with question number 4.
Yeah, exactly. And, to get back to that point about men thinking their women are crazy, it's the feminine energy is like the wind. Men are like directly A to B. Like just.
Well, I think
that's
the way that I saw that.
I should say masculine. Masculine is more the A to B, linear. The feminine is like the wind. It could be going one way and the other way.
I like the way that he describes it. It's like masculine energy likes to keep the peace, right? That's why we as men want to fix stuff, right? Our woman comes to us with a problem. It's like, all right, how do you fix it? Because that'll get back to a peaceful situation. Whereas women are more like wind, but even bigger than that. They're like storms. They're like thunderstorms. They're like snowstorms, blizzards. I forgot that those things even exist.
Oh, but then all of a sudden, no, wait. Then all of a sudden the lake's clear, totally calm.
Yeah, totally.
Totally calm. And then it's like 5 minutes later, it's like a tornado comes through. It's like, what? Where did that come from? And so nature is the feminine energy. So when you think of a woman expressing true feminine energy, it is like nature. It's unpredictable. It is one way 1 minute and another way another minute. And yes, it seems crazy, but it's actually really healing to the masculine energy. We actually really need this. It's what creates also that bodily feminine expression, ecstasy that men desire to see probably more than anything else in their life is women having the orgasmic experience, that kind of thing. That's all that feminine energy. So yes, it seems crazy to us and it's unpredictable, but when the woman is expressing that way, where she's this way and that way and all that, that's actually meaning that the polarity is intact, and it's going to be actually healthier for your relationship. I know it sounds really odd, but it's the truth.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, again, we're hoping, before the podcast, we were both talking about this and going, man, this is such good stuff. We really want to get this out to the dads out there. We're like, man, it's going to be hard to sort of explain. So we're doing our best here, guys. So, if it's not making total sense, get the book. You can get
the book.
Audio book, hardcover. Just get it and start reading it. We're going to we're going to keep giving you some of these little snippets, but I can't recommend high enough to get the book.
Yep. So the second one, why she loves you 1 minute and hates you the next. I mean, how many dads have I met who've told me that their woman has told them that she hates them, and it destroys them. Like a lot of them, I've had it happen to me, and it just totally destroyed me. And go ahead.
I was going to say, because the part of the masculine is that the masculine energy keeps its word. It means what it says.
Whereas it's literal.
Literal. This, if I say this, I mean it. And you know what it's like as a dad, right? Like we hold that shit in, and we hold it in, and like. Oh,
she said that.
Yeah.
A week ago.
When it comes out, if it comes out of us, it's like, bam, that's it. Like, I mean that, right? Whereas for women, it's like that energy thing, that storm. It just happens, like, rah, and then So in the book, he almost calls it like that feminine energy will almost lie to you, and it's not that they're lying. It's just they say what they feel at that moment, and that moment, what they feel can change 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
So they can like blow up, and then 5 minutes later, it's like, I love you again.
Yeah, I love you. And it's what matters. Well, we're going to get into this a bit more, but it's the feeling, and that's why they seem like the wind, they seem like the storm. They're connected to the feeling, the subtleties in the relationship, and so but less the words and the literal element mean less to them, whereas us, we take it to heart. So that's why she can love you 1 minute and say she hates you the next,
and then love you again the next,
and then love you again the next. It's a beautiful thing, and it drives men crazy. They don't get it, they don't understand it, they think there's something wrong. But when you really step back and you see what's going on, when you truly see what's going on, when it's all over the place, is actually she's expressing her feminine energy, and that's her natural state for her. If all of a sudden she becomes very like predictable and boring and all that, that's not a good thing. Okay, if she shifts away from what you normally like into that energy, then the polarity that attracted you to her to begin with isn't there anymore.
Which I think is about, that's question 4, isn't it? That we're going to talk about a little bit more. But I think as we're going along here, the questions will sort of meld into each other. So I think you'll get the idea as we go along with some of these questions. I think by the time we get to question 4, we'll be like, yeah, we already did that. Answered that one. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So the third one is what she actually cares about, and what she actually cares about is the relationship. The subtle shifts in energy inside the relationship and the feelings that she has about the relationship. So you could ask her she could ask you what you want to, what you're going to do for a date. And or what do you want to do for a date? And you say, well, you want to go to the movies? She says, no. And then you twirl her around and you go, you want to go to the movies? And she goes, yeah.
See,
I hope that hits home.
And I think this is huge because, me and Evan been talking about this for the last little bit. And once you start to understand this shit, man, it can really change things, because instead of getting like super frustrated with that shit, and I guarantee, Dad, you have said this to yourself before, why can't my woman be more like a man?
Yeah.
Right? Why can't they just want to fix the problem and understand it and mean what they say and say what they're going to do and
not change their mind all the time? Oh my gosh. Yeah. 1 minute she wants gray paint and then she wants friggin' red paint. I like this table. Oh, nope, I want this table. How about, hey, you know what? How about do a renovation with your wife? How about that? That's a good idea.
You've done that a few times, haven't you? And you guys are still married. You must have understood this shit well.
Yeah, you know what? Thank goodness I understood this shit before I started doing renovations, because I really get it now. It's like, yep, you made that decision. Cool. We'll see how it is tomorrow. And that's the way it's got to be, because she may have made that decision with a certain feeling, and then tomorrow it's like, I'm not feeling that anymore. Okay. Right?
So, understanding that is just that feminine energy, and then realizing that, it can drive you nuts, but it's what keeps the polarity in a relationship, and the polarity is what keeps the sex going, baby.
That's right.
It's what creates that energy, that creates that, that, you can't keep hands off each other. Because again, I guarantee we've all been through it, where there's been periods in time and it goes like a roller coaster, where you can't keep your hands off each other, and then you can't even look at each other. And it's that change in the polarity, I think, that this feminine masculine situation that occurs. So if we realizing that even though that stuff drives us nuts, it's what creates that polarity to keep us going with, that passionate part of a relationship. I think it's super important, which leads us into question 4.
Before that, though, well, actually, it goes well with number 4. So there was this couple that I knew, and I knew the wife more, and I hadn't seen her for a few years. Suddenly, we end up reconnecting, and she tells me that her and her husband are divorced. I was like, oh, like, what happened? And she's like, oh, it's just kind of, I don't know. Like, were you guys fighting or what? She's like, no, we never fought. I'm like, huh, you never fought. So you got along really well. She's like, yeah. And you got divorced.
Yep.
So that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about in this next one is, what is it that is the reason why most relationships, most couples break up? And he talks about how, like this this constant change and like, you know, this way and that way, a lot of men can start to, dads can actually start to tune out their wives and kind of like, what did he say? Kind of like turn down the volume, kind of like just nod and not really respond, and you know, not
Well,
really giving his opinion necessarily, and you know, that kind of thing.
again, it sort of becomes that sort of masculine type of trying to keep the peace situation. But yeah, when it neutralizes, when there's not that polarity in the relationship that drives you nuts, but also creates what you want in a relationship, it becomes more neutral, and then, you know, probably to the point that you're both tuning each other out, and it just goes day to day, and nothing's happening. It's boring. It's just you
That's
like
right.
roommates.
Yeah. So here's an area where you can really kill your relationship, and it's around decision making. So the masculine energy is the decisive, more of the decision maker. So when a woman says to you, a feminine that has a predominant feminine energy asks you, what do you think about this? And you're like, whatever you think, honey. That's not the way to do it. Give your opinion. You know, she still has grace to create her own decision, but you're actually neutralizing the relationship, and you're actually uh, causing her to actually be more masculine, which is not really what you want if you're looking for a feminine energy. So that's an example of how we can neutralize or even create um, repulsion in our relationship, is to do something like that.
Good point.
Yeah. So the key is to really embrace the feminine energy, to allow it to flow, not to try to squash it, not to try to change her, um, not to force her to be more like you. You don't want that. You want her to be like the wind, like the riptides of energy, as he says. I love that expression. Or the riptides of emotion, where you've got one bunch of water going one way and the other water going the other way. It's kind of confusing.
All the
And
Aussies
that's what they're
listening
looking
know what a
for.
riptide is.
Yes.
It's a thing down here. It can kill you.
Yeah. So you
It's
don't
actually
want to.
probably one
Yeah.
of the biggest killers here in Australia, to be honest.
Yep.
Kills people more than sharks.
The riptides.
The riptides.
But you don't
Anyways,
want to
that was
kill it.
a
You don't want to kill it.
side
You don't
note.
want to kill. You don't want to kill it in a relationship, though. You want those riptides.
Yes.
It's probably the only time you probably want riptides. So
These are like figurative riptides, like not the literal ones. Don't jump in the water thinking this is going to save my marriage. No, it's not. It's going to kill you. So don't do that.
yeah. So here's the thing: you can't have a woman who is always logically consistent, reasonable, and on time, who fills your heart and flesh with energy instantly and throughout the day, with her bodily expressed of love and ecstasy. You're not going to have all that. You're not going to have both sides: the logical, consistent, reasonable, and on time person, woman, that also fills your heart and flesh with energy instantly and throughout the day, because that's the feminine side, right?
And
You're
it'll
not going
be
to have
flow.
both.
There'll be flow. It's back and forth. You don't have to pick one or the other, but you
Mm-hmm.
realize that if things are becoming in that neutral zone where there's none of that, like it's sort of neither of those, it's sort of like in the middle, and it's all right. You know, it's sort of, yeah, it's okay. But, you know, who wants a life that's, it's all right. Right? Like we
Yeah.
all, like, we're trying to be better here. We're trying to be better dads, better partners, better people. And that sounds pretty freaking boring to me. So it's sort of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
how do we maintain our relationships? How do we keep that passion going? Because we know that passion is a huge part of this
It's huge, man.
equation. It's huge.
Yeah. When the relationship's not good, nothing's good. I don't
That's
know.
right.
It
That's right.
affects everything. It absolutely affects everything. It's so
Absolutely.
key.
and what we do, and I think we'll sort of end on this one, is as dads, as men, as the masculine, if it's not working in the relationship, we want to keep the peace in that relationship. So we don't bring this stuff up. We don't be aware of it. We go into our work and we get better at that, right? We get better at our jobs, or we go make more money, or, and this just keeps getting worse. So I can tell you it's not the way to do it. It's definitely part of the, hey, go make more money. That's cool. Like, we're going to talk, have shows on that for sure, how to make more money and how to be better financially off and stable and have a great life that way. But it doesn't take the place of this. Like, the way I like to describe it in my practice is talk about exercise. I talk about diet, and people are like, oh, if I go to the gym, I can eat my rubbish food. It's like, no. Exercise doesn't replace a good diet, and a good diet does not replace exercise. You need both. Just like this, if you want to have the best life, you need that passionate relationship. Hey, and financial be great too. So it's about creating changes and not pigeonholing one thing into one area and go, that shit ain't working. I'm just going to leave that over there and work on these other things that are working.
Yeah, that's the head in the sand syndrome. That's the, I suck at this, so I'm just going to put my head in the sand and go do something else about it. That doesn't work. It's just, I mean, you're never going to get to the other side where you're having that free flowing, incredible relationship that it's working. It's just not going to happen. And the thing is that we all have to go through that tough learning curve and figuring this shit out. So just buy the book, read it, reread it. Don't wait like I did, like 2-3 years to reread it. Read it again, after 6 months or a year, because there's layers to it. There's so much wisdom in here. The second time I read this book, I was like, oh my gosh, a lot of this stuff I've been witnessing happening, and I've actually figured out some of it, and not even knowing, it was in the book. But it just tells you, like, we're not always ready to hear all of it on the first time through. We got to go through it again and again and again, and we get more depth. So read the book, enjoy, and have an amazing relationship, guys.
So when you said head in the sand, it just got me thinking about something. And this might make sense to you. It might not. But this part that's sucking, and you sticking your head in the sand. When you stick your head in the sand, what sticks up in the air?
Your ass.
If your ass is sticking up in the air, you're more likely to get fucked. So, right? Don't do that.
Oh man, don't stick your head in the sand. Yeah, because you'll have half the money that you used to have, and you'll be seeing your kids on weekends. So don't do it.
Exactly right.
Because that's what it's like when you get fucked in dadhood.
That's right.
All right, guys.
Some out of that. Hey, something that we have started up recently, and it's been going super well, is a Dad Cave secret Facebook page. So if you're interested to get in that, and it's only dads, you need to contact us directly and ask to be invited into the group, and we can let you in. So check that out on, you can't check it out on Facebook. It's a secret, so you won't find it. But if you message myself or Evan, you can contact us on our emails. You can contact us, just look us up on Facebook. I'm sure you'll find us, and ask to be invited, because we've gotten some really cool conversations started already in that group. And it's a way to take this stuff to the next level and be able to be there with other dads. So check that out, and stay tuned. We're back on track, baby.
That's right.
Yeah. To be back on track with these podcasts. Beautiful.
Yep. So look up Scott Vatcher and Evan Thomas Hill on Facebook, and we'll add you into the Daddiest Facebook page. All right, guys, over and out.
Over and out.
Thanks for listening. Remember, join our Facebook community, Daddiest, where conscious dads connect and collaborate.